We're just going live. We're just shooting it from the hip, gunslinger style. We told you, right? Utah is becoming the hotbed for talent, sexiness in the stone industry, right? We're bringing it all back to Utah. So, as told, we've got Florida, King of Florida, right? Miami Beach, bueno, which is good in Spanish, by the way.
True.
Yeah.
True story.
So anyway, Mr. Joe Alva, owner and king.
Yeah.
CFO sometimes?
CFO sometimes.
Right, cool.
Depends what CFO stands for.
Finances, I think.
Oh, no.
Or finagling. Chief finagling officer.
Chief fantasy.
Fancier. So speaking of fancy, by the way, I'm a little underdressed. So Joe, tell us a little about yourself. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. I was lucky enough to start my career at a very young age, 19 years old, in a granite fabrication shop that also did a lot of importing and wholesale. In 1990, I hate to say it because I feel old, 1998, and that was in Delray Beach, Florida. I was able to leverage my language that I inherited from growing up, how I grew up, speaking Spanish and Italian. And so I was able to get into the imports, management, and purchasing back when there was no emails really, and we were still sending things through fax and phones. So, hey man, obviously I got the right size for you.
Perfect fit every time. Poseidon, perfect fit every time.
Yeah, so I was just sharing how I started in the stone industry at a really young age.
Okay.
Got to work for a friend of the family, very big company, fabricator, importer out of West Palm.
Okay.
And I just learned the business at a really young age. I got to deal with imports, and I kind of told you the other day the story a little bit.
Yeah.
And
But you've always been a hustler. Where did you get that from? Is that from mom?
Man, I think that when you grow up not with a lot of stuff, and you grow up with everybody else that's doesn't have a lot of stuff, it's different than when you grow up. I grew up living in my parents' their American dream. They came from South America. We were all born in LA. I was going to private Catholic school. Everything was great. They decided to move to Miami. Unfortunately, they started having some marital issues. Got a divorce. I was 10 years old. Next thing I know, my dad's having troubles with business. Mom's working 3 jobs. She's trying to keep us in private school. And then I became the financial aid kid in grade school.
Got it.
And it's kind of like you get a spotlight. Like if I would have just been with other kids on financial aid from the beginning, you probably don't have that much attention on you, you know?
Just kind
and
of
so
mold in,
that scarcity of having money issues kind of was always like just at the front of my mind, and watching my mom really stressed out all the time. I wasn't able to see her much. I kind of, at 10 years old, I was already like pretty much at home by myself, cooking for myself, doing my own laundry, trying to help my mom with her, the things she had to do at home, try to lighten her burden. So my mind was always focused, like I just want to make my own money so I can help her. And she was working part-time as a manager at IHOP at night. And I remember I went to the mall and I passed by Foot Locker, and I was really heavy into baseball and baseball cards at the time. And I really loved this, which there was no reason to ever wear this jacket because it's Miami. It was a really puffy White Sox jacket. I just loved the White Sox emblem in the back of the jacket. And it was a starter jacket. It was this is 1990. It was $115. Okay, in today's dollars, that's a lot of money. So she's like, I don't have the money to get this for you. So I said, okay, can you talk to the owner of the IHOP and can I work some kind of job, cash? She's like, yeah, you want to work? I go, yeah, I'm not doing anything on the weekends. Like, so my first job, I was a pancake.
Really?
So they had a pancake costume. All right, so this thing weighed probably like 50 pounds. Now, for those of you who know me, I'm 5'10", okay? And
5'10" and 1/16", by the way.
And I have like the shortest legs, okay? So I have like this Tasmanian devil type of build. And I swear I should have been 6 foot, But this was right when I was going through a growth spurt, like 12 years old. This pancake costume, the way it worked was underneath on the bottom of the pancake, there was actually a dress. It was like,
nice.
And it had like little ruffles on the sleeves. So
it's fancy.
I mean, it was blue. I don't want to say it was like a female, but it was possibly, you know, definitely accepted in today's day and age.
Yep.
So there's a slit on the bottom, and you would go in through the bottom, and then at the top, where the eyes are on the outside, there was like this huge block that's a sponge. And the sponge would just sit on top of your head, and you're able to see and breathe through the smiley face, which was like a mesh.
Yeah.
And then you put your arms through, and you'd wave at people on the street. So Saturdays and Sundays on the weekend, from 8 a.m. till 12, I would wave at cars, and you know, in heat stroke temperatures. Which I don't think this would be legal nowadays. $5 an hour cash, all the fountain drinks I could have.
Nice.
From 8 to 12, and I was $5, so I was $40 every weekend. And so within a month, I made enough money to get my jacket.
That's awesome.
And then I got promoted to under the table, getting paid cash on the weekends to be the dishwasher in the back.
Yeah.
So then that's how I started
Did you
my
have
journey.
to wear the costume while you're dishwashing or no?
That was extra.
Okay.
And no. So that's how I started, like, just
But your
working.
contention is that the weight of the costume shortened your growth spurt.
Absolutely.
You lost 2 inches.
Yeah, I lost 2 inches on my
Have you
vertebrae.
thought of suing IHOP ever? For,
Yeah. You know, I really wanted that White Sox jacket. I can't blame them. You know, I have an old school mentality. I don't like to be a victim.
All right.
So after that, when I was 14, I got a job pushing shopping carts at a restaurant that existed in Aventura, like it's the north part of Miami, where a lot of wealthy people would go. And this place eventually got bought out by Whole Foods.
Okay.
And so I was pushing shopping carts there. I got to meet like the Miami Heat players, Madonna, a bunch of celebrities, which isn't abnormal for Miami.
Okay.
And that's really where I never stopped working. All through high school I worked, all through college. I was a waiter. I worked in restaurants, host, busboy, you know, food runner. And I just felt and always envisioned myself being independent and an entrepreneur and being able to take care of my family. So
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's how I started.
And then we jumped into the Stones. You're working for this company that's in Florida. You're doing college at the time, correct?
Yeah, I had gotten actually an academic scholarship to the University of Florida.
Okay.
Well, any Florida State school.
Yep.
And I was lucky enough to, I learned how to work hard, so I studied. It was a lot of work to keep my grip. When I was on the dean's list, I majored in pre-med because I thought I wanted to be a doctor because that's what they tell you.
Yep.
Right? Be a doctor, be a lawyer. And, and then I met this entrepreneur that was very inspirational who owned the business and where I worked. And he was very young, early 30s, running a $12 million a year company.
That's great.
With granite, marble, travertine. And I was just really lucky that I learned so much from him. And so I ended up working for him. And he was very inspirational, like I said, and it made me think, like, I really like business. And I told him, I would say, hey, man, I really like this. And he's like, because you like people, he said. Yeah. And I was like, yeah,
you're definitely a
I
people
do like
person.
people. I enjoy being around people. I love to share whatever that I can with others. You know, I've always kind of thought, like, I don't want to be alone. I want everybody to have that same wealth, success, opportunity, and those highs that I've been able to have.
Yeah, and I've seen that from your network, right? I've been to some of the Poseidon experience events, all that. I like the ability for those that have to share, right? Because I think success unshared is failure, right? I think we've aligned on that, you know, on that premise. So, okay, so we do Florida. Let's talk through, because where you and I really connect is you become this stone geek and you go to Italy. Tell me a little bit about how you got there, what you did when you were there, how long you were there, kind of what that taught you about the stone industry, and then how that kind of segues into the machinery side of the business.
Yeah, so as I was working for this gentleman while I'm now going to college, and I'm working for him as this imports manager, and I'm handling on the calls to Italy, and at this point, there was no quartz.
Oh, real fast. You're bilingual at that point or trilingual?
No, at this point, I'm quadrilingual. So I speak French.
Quantum physics lingual.
Quantum-tificus.
Yeah. Lingual.
Maximus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a scientific term for people like myself.
If you guys didn't know, it's science. Yeah.
So it's in a thesaurus. which is not a kind of dinosaur. Okay.
Got it.
But basically, so when I took French in high school.
Okay.
So like a lot of my friends that were Latino and had a background where they spoke Spanish, you had French and Spanish. And I decided to not take the easy A.
Okay.
And I figured, who knows when I'll need French. It actually came in handy later on when I sold machines to French Canadians.
Okay.
And yeah, so I took French. And so French helped me later on learn Portuguese.
Yep.
And so it was inevitable for me not to learn Portuguese in the stone industry because Pompano Beach, which is near Fort Lauderdale, we call it, Little Brazil.
Yep.
It's like Boston. It's one of those cities that has a high concentration of Brazil. And some of the first customers that ever bought tools from me, I started selling tools. Eventually we'll get there, but they were Brazilian. So they always helped me out. And I could kind of understand. So I got like Brazilian for Dummies and But so Italy, going back to that, after working and doing college full time basically for about a year and a half while my friends are all partying, I go to visit my cousins in Rome. So I have Rome and family also in Italy. Okay. And I go to visit my cousins in Rome and I have a phenomenal time for New Year's. And I'm just looking at the life that they live, it's different. And I'm young and I've literally been working since I was 12, like with school. So my uncle says, hey man, why don't you just study abroad and transfer to an American college? There's a bunch of them here in Rome. And so I was like, man, that's a good idea. And I go, yeah. And he goes, yeah, you can stay in an extra room here. He's like, you don't have to pay rent. I'm like, well, come and chill. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. Yeah. And I was like, man, and it's just stuck in my mind. So I come back, I think about it, and I go to the gentleman I'm working for, and I said, listen, in 6 months, I want to go to live in Italy. Is that cool? And he goes, yeah. Just train up somebody to take over your position as purchasing manager. So then I end up training somebody, and about a month before I leave, he says, hey, come into my office. We're going to talk really quick. And I said, sure. What's cooking? And he goes, well, look, I was just thinking. He's like, you're going to be in Italy. Rome is 20 minutes away from Tivoli, which is where the travertine all comes from, the containers. We're importing 7 or 8 containers a month of travertine tile. Super popular in Florida because it keeps nice and cool. And it's not too cold when it's cold. And so he says to me, hey, why don't you work for us still and go and inspect containers from Rome? He's like, I'll buy a used car. I'll get you a company card. And then you can also drive up to Carrara a couple times a month and inspect the containers, the slabs. We would load out of Carrara. So this guy was so far ahead of everybody at the time. This is the late 90s. He's the only person I ever heard of that. He was buying blocks from the blocks guys. Red Graniti, Magti, and Carrara. He was buying blocks from all these people. And then he was sending them to factories that would take the overflow from like Antolini and Granitex, and he would cut and polish the slabs. And I was in charge of that operation, basically in the purchasing imports. So then I would go and visit the suppliers while I was in Rome, and I'm living this dream international business life at 20 years old. Great. And everybody's getting to know me. I'm the face of the company. I'm handling the tool purchases. They bought the first Intermax ever in Florida in the late 90s. So that also started my journey on knowing about CNC tools and cones and how tooling worked and CNC routers worked, etc.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So that's the initial for you into the tooling and machinery is buying Intermax for them back in Florida.
Well, I wasn't buying the Intermax. I was buying the tooling.
Understanding.
So I was in charge of the tooling, all the consumables, machinery upkeep, getting the technicians to do maintenance, and planning those visits. We were doing such a high volume. There were no CNC saws, so we were cutting with Marvel Mechanical bridge saws. We had common dually edge machines, and we had Intermac, the first Master Stone routers. And then I was overseeing the slabs purchasing, the block operation, the tiles. And I remember I'll never forget, I was visited by a Silestone, but the colors were weird. They were like mint and like this different.
Nice.
And I was looking at it, I was like, hey man, this looks like it might be something. And I took it to the owner and he's like, that crap will never sell.
Dang it.
And so, but they wanted us to be the exclusive Florida distributor at the time.
Got it.
So then I ended up having the privilege of while I'm studying, so I'm studying at an American university in Rome called John Cabot. While I'm living in Rome, and on the way to school, I wouldn't take a car. I would take a car sometimes if I was going to go to Carrara or something. But I'd drive I used to call it a motorcycle. But I can't really, lie anymore. It was a moped.
Was it a Vespa?
It was a moped. It wasn't even a Vespa.
It wasn't even
like
a brand.
It was like a knockoff Vespa. It was a freaking. It was like a Tartan Prancer from that movie Vacation.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? It's like the Tartan Prancer.
Yeah, it's a Yugoslavian version.
They don't even make it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they made it for like 1 year and then the company disappeared. And 6 months later, I'm like, hey, I need this part. They're like, no, they went out of business. I was like, all right. So I had this moped, right?
Yeah.
But the cool thing was I would pass the Coliseum every time on my way to school.
Yeah.
And that was just like a moment where I was like, wow, man, like I'm just blessed. And
That's cool.
so I lived in Italy, but then I would get sent to, oh, hey man, there's a trade show in Carrara that's in May, usually every month. So I went to the Carrara show. Then they're like, hey, we just got invited. One of the factories would call me and be like, hey, you got to come with us. You know, just come with us, a part of our group. And they would just, since we were a big customer, and I was the face of the purchasing. So this was a company, a really nice guy named Pierluigi Bana. Very nice guy. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I don't know where he is probably, but he'd probably find some satisfaction in seeing that I'm Poseidon now. And like we created this machinery line that's
cool.
revolutionizing the industry.
Yeah.
But the company's name was Marmi Mecca. And they were in Bergamo, which is between Milan and Verona.
Okay.
And they invited me. I remember we went to the Nuremberg, Germany show.
Okay.
And like I thought that Verona was like a huge show, right? When I was at Verona, I was like, oh my God, there's like 10 pavilions. Like these things are 10 convention centers.
Yeah.
But you go to Nuremberg, okay, it makes Verona look kind of small.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that. That's awesome.
That's where more like the wholesalers would go to. That was like the deep dive, and nobody knows about that. I don't know if it's still around, but if it's still around, you want to go to the Nuremberg, Germany show.
Okay.
For Stone.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's called the Stonenheimer. I'm just kidding. I don't know what it's called.
I don't know. I just made that up.
But so I got all this experience. Came back to the States after about a year and a half. I was a little, you know, you think you want, when you're young, you're like, I want to live in Europe. You know, I want to live in Italy. These guys got it right. But then you start doing little things that you're used to in the US, like you go to the post office or you go to the bank.
Yeah.
So like one day, and I'm not trying to knock, because they have a different rhythm of lifestyle. So for all my Italian friends out there, I'm not trying to knock your lifestyle, okay?
Disclaimer. Yes.
However, I went to try to go to the bank. So the bank's open from 12 to 1:30. Well, they do this thing called pausa pranzo, which is like the pause for lunch, right? So at 12, I show up at like 11:45, right? And they're closed. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm in a rush. Like, I got to try to do this.
Yeah.
So they have a note on the window and it says, hey, we scooted out early for lunch today because so-and-so, so we'll be back at whatever, 12:45. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. All right, so this was, right? So then another day I come back and like, so it was 12 to 1:30, right? So I come back another day at like 1:45 and then they're closed again. And then there's a note, it's like, hey, sorry, we got packed this morning and we didn't get to go to lunch until later, so we'll be back at 2 something. So like, I was just thinking in my head, like, man, I miss Chase, you know, like, miss, so just little things like that, you know, like rhythm of life, habits, I guess. So I moved back to the States, and when I'm in the States, I kind of have like, I want to decide what I want to do in life, you know, and I feel a little like overwhelmed. I've been working in full-time college. I switched majors. I went from pre-med to now mechanical engineering. And then I switched schools, and it was a little further south. So I kind of just basically resigned where I was working at the Stone, and I took a break from Stone for about 6 months. I'm waiting tables while I'm going to college, doing part-time. And one of my buddies calls me from a tooling company in Italy that was one of the gentlemen that we would get the tools from for the Intermax. And he suggested and said, hey man, why don't you go sell tools? And I said, sell tools? I go, I've never been in business for myself. I'm not a sales guy. And they're like, listen man, whether you're purchasing or you're selling, you're always negotiating and selling something. Somebody's closing somebody, right? So I was like, And he's like, you would kill it in Miami because you speak Spanish, nobody speaks Spanish. In Miami, I always hear that like a lot of salespeople in the States, they have problems in Miami because everybody speaks Spanish. And I was living in my mother's apartment. She bought a 1-1. And she asked me, she said, are you gonna live in Italy for sure? And I was like, yeah. She's like, because I'm buying a 1-1. I was like, yeah, buy the 1-1. And so next thing I know, I'm living with my mom. I'm living in her living room. Okay, there's like a living room, and then there's like a Bowflex. And then there's like a small little corner for me. And it's kind of embarrassing, right? And I start this tooling company. I was very blessed that the tooling gentleman, he said, "How much money do you have?" And I didn't have a lot of money. I had a $4,000 cash advance on my credit card from college, my MBA in America, I'll never forget it. And I had maybe $4,000 saved up.
Okay.
And this was in the year 2000. And so he said, put a list together of all the things you think you need to start this business to sell tools. So I put this list together, right? It comes out to be like 40,000 euros, okay? And he says, how much money you got? And I'm like, 8 grand,
yeah,
right? Thinking the cash advance plus. So he says, all right, I'll call you right back. So he talks with, and he's a sales guy but the owner knows me as well. He's just like a younger sales guy. I was like 21 at the time,
yep.
And he must have been 28.
Okay.
We're still friends today. We still do business today.
Nice.
So he calls me and he's like, send me the 8 grand and I'll send you the merchandise. And I'm like, so you guys want to be like my partner? And they're like, he's like, no. He's like, just get the merchandise, go sell it, and when you get the money, send it to me. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He goes, I trust you. He's like, I know you'll win, basically. I know you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that gave me a huge like motivation. I was like, I'm gonna show him.
Yeah.
You know?
This is great.
And I started a company, it's called Spectra Diamond Products.
Okay.
And that's what I started doing. I started selling tooling. Within 6 months, somebody, a Cuban gentleman, his name was Isaac Martinez from Contempo Marble in downtown Miami. He said to me in Spanish, he's like, hey man, I heard you speaking Italian on the phone on my Night at the Roxbury cell phone, right? At the time.
Sweet.
And
8
he's
pound
like,
flip phone.
yeah, doubles as a self-defense weapon. So he's like, hey man, I heard you speaking Italian on the phone. He's like, I need you to find me like a used Italian saw. Okay. So I call up my guys in Italy, you know, like the tooling guy, the sandpaper, the glue guy. I'm like, hey, you know somebody? He's like, yeah, my uncle. You know, he does refurb pieces of equipment. And this gentleman named Mauro, who coincidentally ended up becoming one of the founders of Donatoni.
Okay.
He did a lot of refurb equipment.
Okay.
And so he called me and we talked. And I made, I think it was like $30,000 for this refurb Terzago cast iron, really nice machine, but he would paint it up, make sure everything works.
Yep.
And I think I made 12% commission.
Wow. Okay.
And then I was like, I should do the tooling and the machinery. Nobody's doing the machinery.
Yep.
Like, I don't have any kids. This will probably help me get out of my mom's living room.
Yep.
Let me give this a chance. And that's how I got started. So the machine came. I kind of was watching. I was interested. I always liked mechanics. And that's how I started my journey. So immediately, Mauro starts telling all his friends, like, hey, there's this guy. He's young, but he's a hustler in Miami. Yep. And then I started getting connected with people that did edge machines and people that did CNCs. I ended up repping Ravelli, which is a great machine out of Bergamo. I'm not sure if they're still around, but really good machine. 4-axis, they do a lot of 5-axis work. So my background on 5-axis machines was back since the first he was one of the first companies making 5-axis routers and stuff. So a lot of the concepts on the T-Rex, I got them from this gentleman. Cool. That I used to rep. And that was like, I started repping them in 2003, I want to say. Okay. I started selling edge machines, bridge saws, but then I started learning how to service them because I wanted to also be able to help when there was an issue. So I wanted to learn as much as I could. Yeah. So I leveraged that. I would get on the big Night at the Roxbury phone and I'd masking tape it to my ear. And then I'd be like with, multi-tester and hand tools and stuff. And I'd be going inside the electrical panel and I'd be like, yeah, tell me where to, and then I was like, what the hell does that mean? Because like some of the words are so technical, I didn't know what the hell they meant. Yeah. And I couldn't freaking chat GPT this crap. So I had to walk around literally with like an Italian to English translation. So I learned this whole vocabulary of technical terms. And so I just became a good technician, but because I also could fix problems and I loved the fact that I felt like MacGyver, like I could fix things and the customer wouldn't expect it. Like even till this day, when I tell people like, hey, no, I can program and I can troubleshoot the machine. A lot of customers have said over the years, like when you were selling me and you told me you could do that, I thought you were full of shit.
I didn't believe you. Yeah, I thought you were full of selling
shit.
Me. Yeah.
And then later on, when I actually had a problem and I called you and you helped me, he's like, I understood you're saying the truth. Yeah. And so that was my background. So I sold about over 100 machines from 2001 to like 2008, 2009. I'm selling tooling. Everything's going great. Yep. Oh, by the way, a year later, the first thing I did when I made some decent money is I bought my mom her first like nice car.
Really? That's awesome.
she had a Mazda, like an old Mazda, you know?
Yeah.
And the first thing I wanted to do was get her out of that Mazda. Like she had that Mazda since I was like in 8th grade or 9th grade. Okay. And I got her like a Saab, nice. They don't make them anymore. It was a really nice ride. Okay. And then I bought my apartment like a year later down the road from her.
Okay.
And so then I was able to move out of my mom's apartment. The funny thing was that 2 years later, in 2003, about the same time I'm repping that CNC company, Mauro, the guy he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, we started this company. We're making a CNC saw called Donatoni." Okay, they were the first ones, and I was like, "You really?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's going to be CNC 4-axis." Nobody cared about miters back then, right? Yeah. And he goes, "This is going to be a hit, man. I'm telling you." And I was like, "How much is it?" And he's like, $100,000, which is like a tremendous amount of money. Oh yeah. Everybody in Miami, it's such a competitive market. Yeah. They're like super cheap, right? So I'm like, that's never going to sell.
Yeah, I'll never sell. Quartz, Donatoni, that's never going to sell.
Never going to sell. And so I kind of passed on that. And so 2008 comes around, and I have this nice big company. Big for me, right? I'm doing 5 or 6 million in sales, machinery and tooling. Yep. Got 2 box trucks. We're about 8 people, 9 people.
That's great.
And the economy tanks. You know, all of a sudden I have an inventory. Maybe I was selling a lot of bridge saws. Okay. And maybe like 8 or 9 bridge saws. I don't want to fire anybody, so I start liquidating everything, all my assets. I had built up a real estate portfolio, maybe 7 properties at the time. I was 29. Yeah. And I just kept liquidating the hell out of everything, so I didn't have to let go of anybody until I couldn't anymore, and then I had to like let go. And it was really, really sucky because Miami was so hot. But I feel like the hot areas were the first ones to feel the crash. Yeah. And so all of that, man, I was like trying to stay positive and stubborn. Like, no, man, this will straighten out after 6 months go by. Another 6 months, another 6 months, another 6 months.
Don't worry, it's just around the corner.
Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm like, wife beater. I only have 1 pair of shorts and flip flops. I'm walking around, and no, it wasn't that bad. But I lost everything. I had to give a lot of real estate back to the bank. I was lucky that I learned how to like settle debt and renegotiate and things like that. But I was by myself, still in this warehouse with my forklift, with some inventory, and I get the phone rings. And one of the banks that was always financing our machines, the bank calls me and says to me, "Hey, you know somebody that could remove and warehouse this machine you guys sold 2 years ago to so-and-so company?" And I go, "Yeah, let me check. Hang on 1 second. Yes, I got just the person." Okay. So
it's me.
It's me. I'll do it. I'll do anything.
I'll do it, man.
All right. So I go and I repo this. I call up one of my guys and I'm like, "What are you doing?" So pretty funny story. You know JC? JC works in our service department. Yep. So JC he was a sales manager for a huge cabinet company. Okay. And I sold that huge cabinet company a big shop of granite machinery in 2006. When we put that deal together, when we were negotiating, it was like $1 million worth of stuff. They're like, "Can't you give me any discounts?" I go, "No, but maybe I can give you credit because I got to remodel my house, the kitchen, the closet, the bathrooms." Yep. So we negotiated something. He was the guy that was drawing my kitchen. So he came to my house. We become friends. 2006. 2008, 2009 rolls around, and that company had closed down. Okay. And I had 2 Mercedes, a BMW, and a Saab. I liked cars, so I've always liked cars. Yep. They were all used and stuff, and I would negotiate deals and get a car out of it. So I had some cars. So I see him walking down the street. I go, "What happened to your car?" And he's like, "Nah, man, the bank took the Mercedes." I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah. I gotta catch the bus. They just took it from the parking lot." Yeah. And I'm like, "No, dude." And I had my Saab parked inside my warehouse because I had lent it to somebody else, and they dropped it off. I'm like, "Here, take the keys." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Just take the keys." I go, "I'm not going to use the car. I'm not using the car. Use the car." I go, "Can you drive stick shift?"
That's the car store. Okay,
so
cool.
He's driving stick shift. Yeah. Anyway, 2 weeks later, he crashes it. But we still, we by accident, but we stayed friends, and I didn't care. And he said, "If you ever need anything." So I call him, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I kind of need your help. I got to do this repo job." Yeah. And he's like, "When do we have to leave?" And I go, "Tonight." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Yeah." And so I put this hydraulic jack in the back of my Mercedes sedan, right? This 4-door. And machine skates, because I had the machine skates to rig in the edge machines and all this stuff. Yep. And he goes, "Tonight?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Where are we?" The job was in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and I was in Miami. And so he goes, when is it? I go, we got to be there tomorrow morning. He's like, where are we going to crash? And I go, we're going to crash in probably Jacksonville at a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's like, oh, okay. All right. And he's like, what are we eating tonight? And I go, Mexican food. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So I pull into the drive-thru at Taco Bell and we grab food, right? And then we start driving up, okay? So we're driving up all the way up the East Coast, I-95, and we get to Jacksonville. And I pull into a Holiday Inn Express, right? But it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And we really are strapped, okay? I don't know if you guys remember this time period, man, but like the exchange rate is like 1 to 1,000 today's dollars, right? And so I'm looking at, it's 2 a.m. and I'm calculating we have to leave at 5. So what am I going to do? Check in for 3 hours? It's going to take me half an hour to check in. So I pull up and I park inside the parking lot of like the Holiday Inn, like that. And JC's sitting next to me, and he's like, oh, he's waking up because he was sleeping. I was driving, and I go over here, and he's like, oh yeah, we're at the hotel. And I go, yeah, like that. And I don't turn the car off. I leave the AC run, and I just put the seat back. I'm like, good night. I'm like, good night. See you later. And so he goes, and so he goes, what do you said we were going to sleep at a hotel? He goes, no, I said we were going to stop at a hotel to sleep.
Yeah.
But I didn't say we're going to actually go.
Yeah, we're not going in, we're staying. Like,
I'm sorry if I misled you, you know. So man,
got no mint for your pillow either.
He went through that with me. We woke up early, you know, like stuck to the pleather. You know, like it's hot as hell. The sun comes up, and we drive to Hilton Head. We do this repo job.
Yep. And
the rest is history. I did a good job for the bank. They kept giving me assignments, not just my machines that I had sold, but they started giving me Northwood, Park, Intermac, Brambana, Breton, every single friggin' machine that you could think of. And then all the brokers online knew who we were because the banks would say, call this guy because this is where all the machines warehoused. Yeah. And then because of that, they would call me and they'd be like, hey man, I got this job. This guy wants to sell a shop. We can buy these machines if you want. And then we started doing deals. And then I just started doing so much used equipment. And then I started buying them back for pennies on the dollar from the bank. And I ended up buying them thinking I could flip them quickly because somebody would be like dreaming of a Park router in Miami, right? Yeah. It's a cheap market, but they were 250 grand. So I would buy them from the bank for like 30 grand. Yeah. And I'd call the guy and I'd be like, hey man, I got this machine with like 500 miles on it. I can sell it to you for 60,000. Yeah. Yeah. Send me the invoice, send me the wire transfer instructions. I'll send the money right away. Okay. Next day I call him, no answer. Next day I call, no answer. Next day I call, no answer. Then I go, dude, what's going on? Man, I called Park or North or whoever. I called them and it's going to be 35 grand to move it, reinstall it, train me on it. They reminded me that I don't have a warranty and they don't know what the machine could have in terms of spare parts that I might have to buy. Yeah. So I might go into this black hole of 80 grand extra cash out of my pocket that I don't have. Yep. I can't take that chance. Okay. And I'm like, but I already put my life savings into the machine. Like I bought it from the bank. Yeah.
I already paid for it.
So when that happened to me, I came back that night and the guys that were there with me doing these repo jobs, I said, there's some of the engineers, they're still with me today. Yeah. I said to them, hey guys, can we connect this machine to power at night? Yeah. And I'm going to take the manual and I'm going to teach it to myself. Let's teach ourselves the machine. Let's see how tough it is to figure it out. Yeah. So we taught ourselves how to home the machine, how to run the machine, how to turn it on, how to everything. The only thing that we couldn't teach ourselves was the CAD CAM programming. Okay. Because that was like Alpha Cam. Okay. Right? But I used to rep Ravelli, remember? So they use WCAM, DMR software, which is the company that also does the software for 5-axis machines for all the brands because they use his software for the 5-axis stuff. Got it. Maybe not the countertop stuff, but then he also does it for Ravelli, Prusiani, just to name a couple, and then there's a few others. And so we had a relationship. So I called him and I talked to him in Italian. I was like, hey man, how do I put your software on this Park or this Brambana or this North? And he goes, turn on the machine and email me the work file that's in the machine from before, the last work file, and email it to me, okay? Some of the CNCs I was repoing were so old that I could connect a USB to floppy disk, and I had to get the floppy disk from in the machine to get the file, and then I had to email it to him. Yeah. And I would email him the file, and then we would keep testing the machine in the air to make sure until the program jived with the machine.
Cool.
And then once that happened, if I did one brand, then now I could do this for 50 machines that were that brand.
Yeah.
And so I kept repeating that process. So I did it for Intermac, Rambana, Breton, Park, Northwood, Beamatech, Techno MBM, and I would sell and package installation and training with the machine, with new tooling.
Yep.
And then I would get the brokers involved and they would make a commission.
Yeah.
And then I started doing a hell of a lot of used equipment.
That's cool.
Only guys, group of guys that I think have done it in the world, really, in this industry.
Yeah. That's one thing with Joe that really connected me originally on was the fact that he learned the machinery business by figuring out how to use all the machines and make them integrate their software, make them work, the whole thing. So I think that's impressive alone to be able to teach yourself that type of technology and skill.
I mean, I think it was just really just survival, just trying to find solutions.
Yep.
Just never saying like, you can't do this, you can't do that. We'd come up with obstacles, then we'd find solutions. A lot of times you'd have CNC routers that had aluminum planks. So you're obligated to buy the suction cups with brackets on the bottom that slide on those planks. So what we did instead was we would grab a granite slab, epoxy it to the top of the table, mill it down, and now I could buy Blick vacuum pods.
Yep.
And so Blick Industries is a close relationship vendor of ours, partner.
Yeah.
They were with us through that whole journey of refurbing machines. And I was always tell them, we're going to be one of your biggest customers because we're making this machine called the T-Rex one day that we're going to have vacuum pods.
And you had picked out that name back then?
No. So actually, good friend still, a gentleman named Jeremy, used to sell for us. When I first sold the first T-Rex, I called it the Kraken.
The Kraken.
The Kraken, since Poseidon
goes with
Greek.
Poseidon, yeah.
And my older brother, was obsessed with this movie that came out in the 1980, which is Clash of the Titans.
Okay.
Where the Kraken's like gonna kill like the fair maiden. She's chained up to it, and he comes with like Medusa's head, but Poseidon was the dude that was powerful, like in charge of the Kraken, right?
Yeah.
And the machine was sold as the Kraken, and the machine's like on its way. And Jeremy calls me and he's like, "Hey Joe, I just wanted to share something with you, man." And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he goes, "I've been going around talking about the Kraken, and people are asking me if we're crackheads. And I don't think this is going to be the best marketing name for us." And I was like, "What? It's the Kraken." And he's like, "Yeah, but they're cracking a lot of jokes about the Kraken."
Yeah.
And
lots of Kraken.
I'm like, I have to admit, he's got a point.
Yeah.
And I go, "What do you suggest?" He's like, "I think we should call it a good old American name like T-Rex." He's like, "It's strong. It's one syllable pretty much." I go, "Not really. It's T-Rex."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Nah, it's
close enough.
It's a letter. It doesn't count." I was like, "Oh, okay." So
Good American name like T-Rex.
So
does he know that the T-Rex has like kind of miniature arms and your T-Rex is much larger?
Yeah, our T-Rex breaks all the rules basically. So that's how I said, "Yeah, let's do the T-Rex." So I called the customer. I was like, "You don't mind if I go?" He was like, "Nah, actually, I was going to tell you." So he's a good buddy of mine in Oklahoma. Got the first T-Rex.
That's great. And on the Kraken front, I hadn't heard that. That's pretty funny because when you're messing up a machine, you call it crashing, right? You crash the machine. I wonder if people are calling in
No,
hey,
I can't even imagine.
Crash the Kraken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
But well, now we get other jokes, right? Like, "So your machine's an old dinosaur?" I'm like, not really. No, that's my dinosaur's eliminating all your dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like you haven't seen Jurassic Park. It's the new. Yeah.
We're trying to make the United States the Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It's great. So on your end, obviously you've had this long road. I believe that you guys are very disruptive in the industry, right? I've always kind of stood behind what you guys are trying to do to make that process simpler, right? I love the fact that You talk about the process, not the machine, right? To simplify that for fabricators, because time is money, right? Efficiency in the shop.
Yeah.
What's that value proposition in like a quick 30-second? What's the value proposition from Poseidon, right? If fabricators, they all have their own machines, right? If they're a Northwood guy, if they're a Baca guy, right? But what's your value proposition to those entrenched guys with the Poseidon value proposition? What is that?
I would say this. I'm in this industry because I respect hard work ethic. And I respect that all fabricators had to bust their asses to get to where they are. And your machinery is almost a symbol of your success. And I get that, and I respect that. And all the machines are great. So if you have a Sawjet, I know it took that guy many years to get to a Sawjet and get to 2 or 3 routers.
Yep.
Okay? And I know how hard you're working, right? And we have nothing but respect for fabricators and even our competitors. We know it's not easy, and everybody's trying to make an honest living and just improve everybody's life.
Yeah.
And that's really what we set out to do, and that's what the hybrid cycle is. And the best way that I can put it, and I think I'm already over 30 seconds, so I apologize.
Cut them off. Turn it, cancel. No, keep going.
Just do the 2x on the speed of my voice. So what this is just to put it in simple terms, it's a single process. It's never happened before in the stone industry. Okay, and what I mean by that is everybody's cutting on bridge saws, and then they hand finish fabbing, which is the second part of the process, the fabrication, by hand, right? That's the most common chop, okay? Then your other option is you either have a 5-axis saw or a Sawjet to do your cutting, okay? Which then you have a 3-axis router if you follow the industry's holy grail of automation, which is finish everything on a 3-axis router. But that's still, I would argue, because I always felt it while I was doing it, I made 3-axis routers, I sold 3-axis routers. Yeah. It's very inefficient. It's split process is what it's called, okay? So whenever you do split process in manufacturing, this is lean manufacturing 6 Sigma 101, okay? Single process is never gonna not beat split processes, right? Never. Okay, it's the most efficient thing to do is a single placement of the material in one place, and then the pieces come off finished. That's what we accomplished. Nobody's ever done that, ever, in the stone industry. And people don't understand the value and the impact and the power of that and how it affects your profitability and your quality of life. Yeah. Okay, so it's the only single process because we put the slab one time in the machine upside down on vacuum pods, and literally your cutting and fabrication happens in one step. And the pieces come off finished.
Come off complete.
Okay, so I'm eliminating, so you're doing less work to do the whole kitchen than what people do on 3-axis routers. Yep. So if somebody has a CNC saw or a Sawjet, they have to cut everything up, put it on a work in progress cart to go put it into a router. Okay, and then the pieces are sitting there on the work in progress cart. You'll always cut more than what you can finish in a day. Right. So everybody knows how fast they can cut, and that's great. Yeah. But who cares? Yeah. How much? What I care about is how much can you finish in a day, because that's what's going to get you paid, and that's what I want. I want you to get paid as fast as possible with the least amount of incident and headache possible. Yeah. And so when you're cutting, the second part, if you have a router, you're putting in 6 or 7 pieces into a 3-axis router with the maximum amount of vacuum cups underneath the pieces to make sure they don't move. That's a really tedious setup process. Right. Okay. When you do the hybrid cycle, you do less work for the whole kitchen than the work you're doing to do one cycle load into a 3-axis router. Yeah. Because you're putting the whole slab one time on the table. Yeah. Instead of having to do 5 or 6 pieces. And you use less pods overall. Yeah. Okay. So once you set up that slab, not only did you do less work than the router, but you eliminated the whole need for another machine. Yeah. Especially a Sawjet, which is extremely expensive and brings its own challenges about when you use a Sawjet and a water jet. Nobody talks about what's the monthly expense. And unfortunately, people hate to hear it. Yeah. But it's a very high number. And don't ask me, ask all the major organizations that do benchmarking. Ask the Rockheads group, ask ISFA, ask the Artisan group. Yeah. They know that they're analyzing these numbers, but at an extremely high level, because there's a lot of big companies that have 15, 20 CNCs, and they're trying to figure out how can we squeeze out one more minute, you know? Yep. Sorry, that wasn't 30 seconds, but
Yeah, do we
Single
have an official
process.
timer on that? 3 minutes? 3 minutes?
Yeah. Single process instead of split processes.
Okay.
Equals, on average, double your profit. Our company too, I didn't mention, there's so much more to tell. So Kaplan Consulting, which is owned by John Kaplan, who founded the Rockheads and used to own Stoneworks, he's president of our company. Okay. He's a partner of ours in Poseidon. And we just teamed up with Synchronous Solutions, who came up with the $T concept. And the funny thing was that I made a post the other day and I said, we should call it the $T Rex. And we actually did an analysis with them, and I'm meeting with Rick Phelps next week in Nashville for a couple of days while I do tours to people to show them the hybrid. And we did a calculation, and he said that he thinks that I'm low on my assessment, that it doubles your net profit. Okay, so he basically did an analysis, not even analyzing the fact that I said you eliminate the saw, but he went to he called it when they do the analysis, they call it like the bottleneck, right? So he went into the bottleneck and he said that this multiplies your T-Rex dollars minimum by 1.68. So if your T dollars are 10,000, you're gonna have 16,380 T dollars if you switch to our equipment. So that's really powerful. So now we're starting to get into those numbers and prove the case studies.
That's cool.
But it's ironic because you're a fabricator, right? Right. Okay, so this is, I just walked in, so that's your saw, right? Okay, so like this is the weird thing, like because I'm in this industry, like I know all the pain points, right? Like if you go into a shop, you're thinking, is this shop busy and are they producing? By how much I'm hearing a saw cutting stone like all 8 hours, right? Because if you're cutting stone the whole day, you know you're producing, right? The weird thing is if you go into a hybrid cycle shop, you barely hear a blade cutting because we're doing the whole process at one time on the slab. So a cookie cutter 3cm quartz flat polish job takes about an hour to an hour and 5 minutes per slab, the whole thing, to get cut and fabbed. Not counting the backsplashes, we take the splashes off to take them through the splasher. But out of that hour, only about 15 minutes is a saw. So when you go into like Metro and people walk in there, most of what's happening is routing, because that's 3/4 of the time. And it's super quiet. Fabrication. Yep. And it's quiet and you're not used to hearing the blade running. So you feel like this shop's not producing much until you stay there till the end of the day and then you see how many square feet that they processed. Yeah. So those are like the weird, so it's a very weird thing that it's happening, but there's no, I'll put an example for you. If you were to buy a router, most routers, whether it's a Helios or a Park or a Titan, they all have the same limitations. They all work the same way. They have a laser projector. You have to stop to unload and reload. So on average, it's about 3 to 3.5 hours of dead time throughout the 8 hours. So you're not what they call utilization, right? If you hustle, you might get 5 hours out of the 8, okay, if you're hustling. So it usually works out to like finished product, you're about 160 to 200 square feet per shift on the router, okay? On a single jumbo table T-Rex, okay, which is a very popular model for a smaller shop, okay? On that single jumbo, I'll have a guy and a helper run 5 or 6 slabs, which is 250 square feet or so, cut and fabbed with the least amount of work they ever did because they're putting one slab on top of the machine. So like I said, we eliminated the whole saw machine in the process.
Maximize the utilization, essentially.
Right. Well, that single table has the same drawbacks as a router. The single table does, because I have to stop it to offload the piece. The difference is that when I reload, I'm reloading a slab. So my reload time is faster than a router. The beauty is if you can get a dual table, because on the dual table, then I work nonstop. So I'm gaining that 3 hours back in the day just off of that. So a dual table with one guy and a helper can do over 300 square feet.
Because he's changing out while this one's processing.
In the day, yeah. And other little nuances, like the machine's heavy duty, so our finger bit goes twice as fast as everybody else's finger bit. We double stack the profile wheels. So instead of doing 6 tool changes like crazy on a Titan or a Northwood, Exactly. I got 2 tools per cone, so it's only 3 tool changes. So now it's half the number of tool changes.
It's kind of similar to when I go to restaurants, I'll order the appetizer and the main course at the same time, and it's really efficient to go back and forth. I have a weight problem. I don't know why I shared that. A quick moment of levity. So Joe and I both hold the esteemed record of losing to the same, we're going to call him a bastard, and you could edit this out if you need to, but Bo Bronwick, who is just a jerk. He started arm wrestling. So Joe is the claim to fame. Bo is now a professional arm wrestler, but he didn't even think about it until he arm wrestled Joe. And Joe helped him feel so good about himself from that win. Only right arm, though, not left arm. Don't lie about it, Bo. We know the true story.
I got on the left arm that first time.
But he turned pro just after he defeated you and I.
Yeah, he got all the technique.
You did better, though, than I did. I was at a Rockheads event, and everyone just laughed really hard at me, and it made me feel bad about myself. So, and I was trying really hard to defeat him. So I was kind of
nobody can beat you in the power clean because
I don't know if
showed everybody at Las Vegas.
Yeah, so we're going to try and do that again, by the way. There's been a lot of people asking about it. So we'll try for surfaces in Vegas in January. So, Joe, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for coming to Utah to visit with us.
Asking about my story. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And,
I like the nuance piece. I love the piece about your mom. I loved just how you become a hustler, knowing what you want, right, to provide better for her and for your family. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that, brother.
So we'll have some other content. We went and saw some Poseidon machines in action yesterday to Damas, who's a good friend of ours from Utah, Andrea and Francesca, and they were kind enough to let us tour the shop, so you'll see some of that on some B-roll footage. But yeah, we love everything you're doing. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that tremendously.
And then
thanks for being a part of our journey.
Yeah.
As we revolutionize, we want to bring more value and an easier lifestyle.
Love it.
With more profit to everybody.
And Joe's been the only one that's been supportive of my ridiculous commercials. I've done a couple Poseidon commercials for free. So see another Poseidon coming right on the horizon, especially in this beautiful shirt.
I think that size is a little too large for you.
Yeah, it's a little stretched. Yeah. So
no, it's too big.
Too big.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think you could accentuate your musculature.
Accentuate your weight.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.